Hello and welcome to our Korean caster desk here for Worlds 2020. Thank you so much, Shocks. I'm Atlas, joined by LS, as per usual, the Lizard specialist himself, here to save G2 from Renekton picks here for our first match of the day.
Renekton is allowed here today because TSM, that black hole, it's not here. All right, to break the Renekton curse. So Lizard supremacy probably going to be happening. We do have Suning, Machi also playing later on today. Could get quite a lot of Renekton picks.
I have a feeling that there might be more on the horizon. That is indeed true. However, this is TL's one match they managed to win.
True.
And I wasn't actually able to hear the predictions at the end because, of course, there is slight delays, things like that here moving over to Korea. So that is a mystery to me. Does that mean that we have to treat TL as the favorite moving into this match? Because I have a feeling both of our predictions probably don't state that.
So I feel like from watching the last G2 game, TL got a lot of advantages throughout the game, and I felt like G2 had a really, really, really rough team composition that just didn't make a whole lot of sense. And despite that, G2 still pushed back several times over, even against Seoul, and made the game look a lot closer than I think that it should have been. And so I'm imagining here today, if there's not any sort of catastrophes happening inside of the game, G2 is probably going to take this comfortably. Yeah,
it didn't necessarily look like a game that TL handedly beat, right? That they were the best team on the day by far or anything like that. I had a feeling that G2 were playing a little bit fast and loose, as they sometimes do here on the world stage. I don't want to take anything away from Team Liquid, though. I thought Broxah had a standout performance in that match that they were able to win. And this year, North America are a slow starter. So let's see what we're going to be able to do as we move into the second round robin of this group. Into Champion Select already here is Camille and Lucian to be banned away. Lucian warranting some bans. That dude does not lose very much on Summoner's Rift, as Ornn and Graves are going to leave. So G2 are doing away with their let's just ban out all of Impact's champions, and they're going to mix things up just a little bit.
Yep, and we'll see what the final bans are going to be. It's going to be the Twisted Fate for TL.
Yep, similar to what they were banning away last time around, despite the side switch. Lilia to be taken away from Broxah here, so definitely a different look as far as the ban phase is concerned for G2. As let's see whether some of your wizardry is going to come through here for our first pick of the day. Impact thinking about what he wants to go towards. Is Shen is available. Something worth mentioning, something we're not very used to over here in Korea.
Yeah,
but we're used to this one. The Sett first pick is going to be locked in. The master of flexibility. Flexing absolutely everywhere. Going to open up the draft here.
Extremely flexible despite his muscles.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, he's got a bulky physique for such a flexible man. Doesn't seem like a contortionist, but that's okay. Wunder and Jankos now, wondering what they're going to be picking up, and it could be the kitty cat and the croc. They could go towards it, but Electric Bear going to be locked in. And that is going to be a slight difference. Certainly more flexibility, although only between jungle and top lane, as far as we know.
The Freylord comp coming in now with the Ashe locked in.
I love it. We're a Braum away from like the absolute dream for our first 3 picks.
Sejuani too, why not?
Oh, let's do it. I mean, it's Jankos. It could happen.
And the thing about G2 in this game in particular, so in the initial encounter versus Team Liquid, their team composition had a lot of responsibility. There was a lot of onus on it in order to try to do things. And when you fall behind early with a team composition like that, it's generally pretty hard to play. So I'm curious here today if they're going to end up with a draft that has significantly less responsibility, and thus TL is going to be the one that have to make all the plays and all the action happen. And the Kalista pick is very interesting here because it's running into an Ashe.
Yeah, that's we've actually seen this over in the LCK, and I always get baffled by it. I feel like Kalista is the most handedly controlled by a champion like Ashe, who can just press a W, and that's going to slow down her attack speed. That doesn't necessarily always happen with that particular ability. That's okay. This is forming TL's composition into something very powerful in the mid game. Going to have a lot of pick opportunity with the Scat of the Week, and of course the Fate's Call to come through there, and also increases the amount of flexibility that Sett has in this composition, making support Sett the most likely, but he can still go elsewhere on the map, as Caps is going to be locking in the Ekko into the mid lane. Of course, one of those inner vacuum counters to the Syndra.
And now we are at the jungle bans coming away again. Lee Song gonna be removed from the table, as well as Nidalee.
That's 4 jungle bans so far.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we already have 2 junglers locked in, 1 per team. That those could be options, but Sett and Volibear, they're sort of part of your Olaf collection that you like to talk about towards the end of the summer season of the LCK LS. If you guys aren't LCK viewers, it just means that they're basically clones of one another. They do very similar things if they are going to be in the jungle. Speaking of jungles, another one to be taken away is Kindred off the board. And 1 more jungler. Come on, Tia, what is it going to be? As look, we're digging right into the dregs of the jungle champion pool, and it's getting more and more likely that this Volibear and Sett are going to be heading that way. Of course, Ekko also another jungler, so theoretically 2 of them on the side of G2, and Aurelia to be taken away here.
And I feel like the Aurelia is more signifying that they perceive the Ekko to go into the jungle, with the Volibear headed top lane for Wunder. And so that is very interesting, and there's Ashe, Tahm, Kench. Now, historically, Ashe, Tahm, Kench was the bot lane duo that you would pick to neutralize Kalista Thresh, and they just can't do anything.
Yep.
And so all of Kalista's pairings down in bottom that are traditionally found with her sort of just can't move Ashe and Tahm Kench, and that's what ends up happening. And so this is why the Kalista pick was so interesting, because now you're going to have to choose a off-theme Kalista pick if you're going to try to get a leg up over it down in bottom lane. Now, Lulu's coming in. We've seen her appear in top lane a lot. I'm completely unfamiliar with Lulu versus Volibear, if that's even a thing.
It doesn't seem good for the Volibear. That's what I would say. But Lulu Hecarim, a fantastic combination of champions. Hecarim, the last remaining jungler, really, that is in a tier towards the top. And that is going to be going into Broxah's hands. He's going to be helicoptering around the rift on that one, as Sion being considered. Now, the really interesting thing about G2's comp is this last pick could be a whole bunch of different things apart from the bottom lane. As Sylas being considered at the moment, we were hovering a whole bunch of different things. There's a Teemo, so we have, okay, it is going to be the Sylas, and we still don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. This is... There's a lot of flex on the top side.
We got 3 junglers up top. We got 3 top laners. We've theoretically got 2 mid laners. I haven't seen Volibear there yet, but I wouldn't put it past G2. So we're going to have to wait until this ticks down a little bit before we really lock in exactly what we're going to see. But I love flexibility in a draft. I think that's why you take red side and what you use it for. G2 has done a great job in that department. However, looking on the side of G2, TL, I love this composition as it comes together, right? In order to make sure that Tactical has the best mid-game possible. As soon as you get an Ardent Sensor on that Lulu, this Kalista is going to be popping off completely and does have a lot of protection from the rest of her team. And Jensen also has a lot of agency to carry himself. So this is a dangerous composition moving into mid-game, and we'll see how G2 is going to handle it.
Yeah, and we'll see what TL is going to be able to manage to do here and how they're going to try to get ahead and get their advantages going here in the early stages of the game. Because of the dynamic of mid lane and bot lane, unless we see some Hail of Blade shenanigans and Ekko getting some really insane trades off on Syndra early on, it should be a surety that TL actually gets control over the initial dragons, unless something goes miserably wrong for them in the early stages of the game. The mid game is going to be the most telling. I feel like that's where TL's team composition is going to be the most explosive and also the most oppressive, because the items that Kalista and Lulu and whatnot, Hecarim skipping jungle item, just going straight into Trinity Force, they come online a lot faster than G2. And there's that small timing window around 3rd and 4th dragon that should spawn where TL should be favored. That doesn't happen, G2 should almost always walk away with the game.
Well, we'll see whether they can make that one work out for them. I actually feel like, as far as well-roundedness is concerned, and with game, like, the way that you, like, win conditions in mind, I feel like TL's composition on paper looks very, very good. But G2 often throws that out the window when it comes to what actually happens in the game. So I'm very interested to find out what their plan is to try and get this composition actually moving and try to avoid what you say is that explosive mid-game she's going to be very terrifying. I mean, the amount of wombo, it's like ease of execution is also on TL's side, right? Like, they just have a horse run in, get really big with a Lulu enchantment, and then things generally work out for them, right? With the hopping mad Kalista and the Syndra. So as far as ease of execution, definitely up there for TL, but G2 can certainly throw some spanners in the works, and there is a lot of skill expression, especially in things like the Ekko that we've seen do phenomenal things worldwide. Of course, Knight does come to mind when you mention that champion, and Caps is a superstar himself, so very excited to see how this one is going to go as we get onto the Rift for the first time for the second round robin of the World's group stage. Absolutely beautiful skybox as well, I have to say. We've had some great ones, but I really like this cityscape. It's absolutely stunning. As Jensen putting an orb down with FLICKR's skin in hand. Of course, FLICKR's not going to use it. You may as well use it yourself, guys. That's how it works.
Well, as we're taking a look at the runes, it's not going to be the Halo Blades on Ekko. It will be the Electrocute. And so we'll see how the trade patterns do unfold. You have Airy up there in top lane for impact.
Yeah, I'm going to give you
Predator
a lot more trading
Volibear.
power. No real surprises. Looking down those keystones, of course. Apart from Mikyx going back to his Hail of Blades Tahm Kench. Absolutely love it. Very similar to the Hail of Blades Brahms that we were privy to over here in the LCK. Works very similarly, just means that you can eat faster. And a gentleman like Tahm Kench, who does have a food-related skin, probably loves that. And Mikyx using the correct skin as well. This is the Hail of Blades Tahm Kench skin, the Master Chef one. Yep. Perkz going to take half of his health bar and damage. Tactical taking a bit back, but still a great trade for TL. And our eyes are going to be on Tactical. This guy does the majority of his team's damage so far at Worlds, even if he is such a young gentleman on this roster. A lot of it, of course, having to do with CoreJJ. And just how good he is as Haymaker comes down. Mikyx taking a lot of damage here as there is some biffo towards the bottom side of the map.
Well, definitely a lot of trading going on here. Also, Exhaust versus Ignite is what's currently present. Looks like Mikyx and Perkz, they're really trying to get this level 2.
As
get it, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very similarly timed as Tactical's going to miss that CS, and Mikyx's just going to lick CoreJJ a little bit.
A little bit of a tongue work there.
Yeah, it was. I liked it.
And we can see on the jungle, Jankos already looking to get a little bit aggressive. Ooh, yeah. He's gonna. Ooh.
That is high value.
Okay.
That Storm Strike. Broxah does get the big one though, so not too worried there. As Jankos just going to make sure that this horse is well and truly in the stable.
Yep.
Of his mid lane.
He's protecting that ward.
Yeah, also doesn't have a top side that he can go to, right? So it's not like he can transition out. I actually really love what Jankos is doing, just playing goalie.
Wunder is going to cheater. I think he's, well, he was looking for maybe a cheater recall, but instead, ooh, he's taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is getting real dangerous.
Yeah, he really wants to just crash this wave in and then leave. Impact.
Oh my god, it's a flash forward. The flash immediately from Wunder as well, but they're going to trade. That means now both junglers, their ears prickling at this top lane flashless situation. Yep. No one going to die just yet, as Wunder does actually have a decent CS advantage, having shoved that wave all the way forward.
Right, so he gets the reset off with 18 CS, so he only has enough for Darksteel plus the control ward. Going to teleport back into the lane, and now the question becomes is how long can Impact sustain inside of the lane with just the Biscuit and his current HP and mana value? Because then Lulu can get into Chalice if she wants to go that for the first item.
Yep.
Get herself some magic resistance as well as sustain.
Yeah, a lot of these Lulus really like to get towards the Swiftness boots as well, quite early on. As, of course, Noguri debuting this top Lulu here at Worlds demonstrated that one. Definitely a very supportive build for this particular champion, which is going to work out extraordinarily well for the TL composition as they move closer and closer to these team fights. Currently, TL do have a slight gold advantage, but it's absolutely nothing to write home about. As Wunder will be taking the Rift Scuttler here to deny that one away from Broxah. And I feel like since Hecarim came back into the meta, this has happened so much more. People have figured out that you just need to take camps away from the horse, and then he doesn't have nearly the amount of value that he had when he sort of re-debuted here in the jungle. It's just sort of like going back into the playbook, very similar to, you know, Evelynn playstyles and things like that. When she's meta, she's easy to understand. But if you surprise people, then it's sort of hard to get that muscle memory sort of back. Which is why some of these cheesy picks can work out very, very well. Of course, not calling Evelyn cheese. She's extremely strong at the moment. But if you can make people have to readjust how they play the game, it's definitely a good idea. As Broxah is going to sneak in towards the top side. Not sure how a hoofed animal is able to sneak, but he did manage to do so.
This is interesting because you can see the Impact doesn't really need that much assistance. The only reason for Broxah to ever be doing this is if they anticipated that Jankos would come on this wave. And you can see Wunder, he's threatening a freeze. And this is really problematic because the cannon minion is coming. So this can end up going indefinitely depending on how Impact and Wunder both manage their waves here. Jankos gonna move into the brush now. This is really scary because there's not a lot that they can deduce from anything. Impact not even level 6 yet.
Yeah, there's Storm Strike, half the health bar now onto Impact. That looks like they're going for the dive. Great stun comes out in First Blood's oh so easy for G2 topside.
And that's really bad because no teleport for Impact. This is a nightmare situation for him right now. He's missing so many minions and he's already CS capped up there in top lane. So Wunder with a fantastic advantage. Also, he got the kill, so his Darksteel getting a little bit of AP.
Ooh, there we go. Added value.
Added value on top.
You really got to look at that. This is why you're the lost salesman.
This is, you know, I mean, the war on Boris, it rages on.
I know. Every single day.
Yeah.
As Mikyx and Perkz back down to here towards the bottom side. In fact, there are a couple of members extra for G2 as the slows down onto CoreJJ. Immediate flash out from Tactical. Ooh. He's down to 2,500 health, but they turn it onto Mikyx and grab that kill. Tactical's definitely dead, but he'll be typing worth in all chat, absolutely. After that trade, especially with the amount of resources invested by G2.
Yeah, and CoreJJ able to retain both of his summoners as well during this. Jensen, now as we take a look into mid lane, he has a little bit of an XP advantage, it seems, over Caps. Not super big.
Well, Cap's actually going to go aggressive here as Wunder comes around. Broxah a little bit late to this party and only level 5. As Caps is going to successfully get the flash out of Jensen. This could really make things difficult in the mid lane as Broxah is going to try and push the Rift Scuttler away from Wunder. Ooh. Okay, looking for a bit of an engage here as Broxah. Didn't expect him to kill him, but he is going to be able to get that smite off. Bit of health back and also the extra money the Rift Scuttler will provide. But an onslaught of shadows now available for the Sylas, which is very frightening.
Yeah, and Sylas is returning to a massive wave up in top lane that Broxah is now going to share the EXP on with Impact. And I'm scratching my head as to how we've arrived at this CS on Broxah. You can see all of his camps are up. And just the pathing that's coming out, overall, a little bit questionable. And Jankos, who's been able to be in multiple places now at the same time, he's also still retaining a slight CS advantage. He's now invading. He's going to steal away some of Broxah's camps. And this is a pretty doomsday scenario if you're the Hecarim. You don't want to be this stunted and stifled inside of the jungle because he's such an integral part to their hard engage when it comes into mid-game. But also, because he's been constantly set on the back foot, and because of the stuff that's been happening in mid lane, the neutrality down in bottom, TL hasn't been able to threaten any sort of dragon shenanigans. And so, the game state for them is in a really awkward spot.
Yeah, in fact, no one's really looked at the dragon at all so far this game. G2 has pushed that gold lead back just a little bit with that extra kill. Is now Tactical having to deal with a big old bear running down here. Caps will turn up. Phase dive on top of the Kalista as Fate's Call comes down. Only a single knockup, but CoreJJ an amazing face breaker before he goes down. It is 2 kills for G2, and they have started this one off early as Impact now in trouble. Chain Lash comes through as Wunder's going to flash. For some reason, just exciting stuff. Sometimes you just want to press your buttons.
He doesn't want to get help Pixed and then chained with
He was also very close to turret range,
yeah.
So maybe that was an adjustment there. But yeah, help Pix certainly a thing that would have been his death. Some exciting top lane stuff though. Okay, Perkz caught in the shot just a little bit as Jankos is here. Onslaught of Shadows comes down as Perkz is definitely dead. He's going to throw out a volley in some direction, but he flashes away and will survive. Oh no, CoreJJ, will he have enough movement speed from the Q? That's the question. Doesn't have flash, of course, wants to... Oh, the face breaker max range! And the Haymaker will secure the kill. CoreJJ saying, well, you're not going to take it, I will.
Well, that is a very big pickup, though, because now Ashe, it's not just that she dies. It's that she's missing a cannon wave that's now going to go into the turret, and Tactical gets all of this XP, all of this solo golden farm, just allocated right into himself. It's a really big thing for TL after what just happened in bot lane.
Yeah.
And now, okay, well, Scuttle Crab going to be leashed over, so more bad news bears.
Yeah, bad news horses more than anything else, as they are going to try and get some retribution here, moving 3 members up this river. Tactical slightly avoiding the tongue lash there, as the Cloud Drake continues to stay lonely and asleep in his pit. As Broxah will finally take a camp or two here on the bottom side. Does have his Wolves and Gromp available. We'll see whether that's going to spell Team Liquid heading towards something like one of these neutral objectives. Probably going to be aiming for utilizing their team fighting strength at about the 15 to 20 minute mark, something like that. The closer to 2 items you are, the better this composition is going to be. As Impact just trying to hold on here. Has been put pretty considerably behind, especially in farm. 15 CS going to be that gap as Sylas continues to put on the pressure. This pick working out very, very well as Rift Herald has been started. Shelly just going to be fighting the bear here just a little bit as Tactical finds himself without too many friends towards the bottom side as he's down extraordinarily low, and Perkz will pick up that kill. Some great health to eat there from Mikyx as impacted, teleported, but way too late, and they're going to lose everything. Yeah.
And just very unfortunate situations constantly popping up every couple of minutes for TL right now. All the small little edges that they do get at some points in bottom just end up falling away pretty quickly again. G2 now, they're going to take the turret plates. They have the Rift Herald. They're going to be able to summon it. It just looks like what's happening this game is that it's pretty much a lane kingdom everywhere. Mid lane, you can say that Sir Jensen is ahead in CS. Well, he's supposed to be.
Yep.
As well as Caps has gone places to make things happen. But the early pressure wasn't there to be able to translate into anything meaningful, and so the Ekko just got to coast by entirely for free. And the longer that this game goes on, it's only going to get worse. We're at a 3,000 gold lead. Shirley is about to get a second charge here onto the top tier 2, and things are just looking disastrous because TL, who it's so important that their items came online faster and that they team fight sooner than their opponents and they look for those things, aren't going to be able to do it because G2 is actually hitting their item spikes faster than TL.
Yeah, and this is also like a genius time to make moves like this for G2. It's just before Team Liquid have managed to get to those spikes where they do want to get to some of these team fights around the objectives, and instead trying to put TL as far behind and as far away from that moment as possible as Perkz doesn't quite have the arrow. It's finally up as Wunder's turned up.
Oh!
There's the onslaught of shadows, but it's not the one coming from TL, and 2 very swift kills out of G2. This could be the beginning of the end for Team Liquid as Caps not able to find the parallel convergence, but that would have just been the cherry on top.
Well, able to get the ghost at the very least. More turret plates now going to go down here in bottom, and this is a massacre.
Yeah,
that we are absolutely witnessing. I think this needs a mature audience warning. People tune into the stream.
I didn't check out the rating actually beforehand. Maybe we'll need to do some adjustments. You're absolutely right, as Perkz is going to come through, try and grab this last turret plate before it falls down in 10 seconds time, and he will do so. 460 gold in the back pocket. He's 3-1-3. Guy has been doing a hell of a lot of stuff around this map, despite that one whoopsie from earlier on. Immediately hijacks the onslaught of shadows. Does Wunder. Zach's replay just demonstrating how good G2 are at these early game skirmishes and team fights that they can orchestrate for themselves, because they needed to with this comp. I just love how G2 have managed to navigate how their comp works in this earlier stage.
Yeah, I mean, they're up 5,000 gold exactly at 14.5 minutes. I mean, things are just looking fantastic for them. Everything is just going super well. I wouldn't be too surprised to just see a Magi Soulstealer, the correct book, actually be picked up by Caps here in just a short moment. Impact is just so far behind inside of this game from where he would ideally like to be.
And also, I mean, the Lulu's not supposed to lose a lane like this, right? Like, Lulu is there to be a bully. She always has been. But this Sylas certainly working out very, very well. It's an okay matchup. Of course, Sylas was picked into Kennen a lot of the time. This is a pick that is pretty good into some of these mages towards the top side. And Wunder is just demonstrating exactly how good at this point in time. As now the red buff, G2 not going to be letting up the pressure at all as the arrow sails by through that pixel brush. The TL have been effectively moved out. Oh, Broxah is going to be able to grab that Smite Steal, Facebreaker, down onto Caps, interrupted as he tries to go over the wall, but the flash will get him to safety. As the Rend pulled out there by Tactical and only Mikyx taking a little bit of damage. But G2 can do this. They can afford to add all of this pressure. And now CoreJJ going to get locked up. The Fate's Call has to be invested, and so many R buttons now falling down. Haymaker comes in. It's another good Facebreaker from CoreJJ. He's doing the best that he can. Doesn't quite have Haymaker back available, but doesn't need it. As there is another fight here towards the north as Wunder's at full health. And not at too much risk of dying. The health bars of TL looking a little bit worse for wear as G2 will go for a reset. Yeah,
G2 are going to just get the reset here. They're piling quite a bit of gold. That was really close between the bot lanes there. It almost looked like Caps was actually going to fumble and give over a kill, but he managed to get the ultimate off just in time. Everything's fine. Ocean Dragon's coming up in 1 minute and 20. It means that we are going to have a pretty meaningful dragon.
Yep.
This game, obviously, given that Cloud was first.
Yep, Mountain or Infernal this game. Those of you playing at home. Perkz going to be taking down his Brambleback. As although he got caught out by CoreJJ earlier on, Perkz has been pretty integral to this composition thus far. I absolutely love the 3-item build that he's going for on the Ashe. I think that the damage potential out from the Hurricane, Essence Reaver, and Infinity Edge build from Ashe is just really, really strong once you get to that point. And he is going to be able to reap those benefits quite effectively. Is now just back into farming mode. You mentioned that 5,000 gold lead. Well, that is still there. 30 seconds on this Ocean Drake. G2 in full control at this stage of the game.
Yeah, everything is just going very well for them. You have the resistances coming out that's going to make it really hard for Syndra to be able to really do anything. And when you have opponents that are itemizing magic resist for Syndra, when Merc Treads are incentivized on the enemy team, it not only hurts the Syndra, it also really hurts the Lulu, because she's already going so supportive, she's not really going to be able to add anything other than just pure support. But when her primary carries that she's supposed to be bolstering are not able to really do anything when they're so far behind their opposition, then Lulu just ends up feeling pretty hopeless.
Yeah, you kind of lose any of the upsides. As speaking of which, G2 going to be starting off this Ocean Drake. TL not wanting to give this one away for free. They did manage to get that first one. Wunder getting pushed out just a little bit, but the Drake is going to very cleanly go over to G2. And the arrow not going to connect there onto Tactical, who walks intelligently towards Wunder as Caps is going to close the gap. CoreJJ over with the Hex Flashes. Now Broxah looking to get into that back line. He's by himself though, and he gets put underneath the turret. Oh dear. As that's a decent Facebreaker out from CoreJJ, trying to salvage this fight, but you can see in the health bars that it's not going well for Team Liquid. Jensen underneath this turret, but that is not as safe as he's otherwise like it to be. Impact doing a decent job there, but even the Storm ripping him apart as Wunder gets underneath the turret and takes down the Lulu. And now G2 will be able to take down this outer turret in the mid lane. 10-2 in kills. This is getting towards a shellacking.
Oh, this is a massacre in the making right now. G2, they're up almost 8,000 gold. And you have 10 stacks Darkseal on Wunder, so he does recall, he picks up a blasting one, so it's not going to be the Mage Eyes for him just yet. Everyone on the side of G2 is just so far ahead.
Yeah, I have to give it to Wunder though. Being able to choose exactly the right ultimates at a moment's notice, that showstopper, absolutely amazing. I mean, Broxah probably shouldn't have gone that deep. Oh, I know Hecarim's love doing it. We've all had one in the solo queue, but that was
he had a hot date.
Insult to injury as we're going to have a look.
He can see that Sett ultimate, the angle is perfect to just superplex him right into the turret.
Yeah,
I have no idea what he was thinking. And then here inside of the replay, Wunder just doing so much really good mouse control, just playing at the edges of his screen. That's always nice to see when players are able to do this if they don't just reposition with spacebar. and just managing to rip right onto Impact at the very end there. And just look at the level discrepancy on some of the members. It's 1 in support. It was almost 2 in top lane. I guess Impact did just ding 11. Yep. But G2 are in such a commanding position inside of this game right now. Pick up the second Herald, 3 minutes until the Mountain Dragon, and with so many resistances being built on their champions, even just one Mountain Drake, it really does help.
Well, that's going to be in 2.5 minutes time, however, as we tick over the 20-minute mark. This is the moment that Team Liquid's team composition was supposed to be coming online, you know, but G2 have done such a good job at snowballing any advantages that they were able to pick up. And it felt like from about 12 minutes onwards, they were like, oh, well, this is where we're going to start winning the game. And they absolutely did that. Shirley going to pop down in this mid lane to try and eradicate it of the inner turret. And she will do so fantastically well. It is, in fact, her job, of course. Caps over with the parallel convergence. Not going to be able to find any stuns just yet, as Broxah feeling very squishy at the moment, as this Hecarim does have his Trinity Force, but not much else. As now inner turret being smacked down by Wunder. Perkz going to come through as well, get the last few hit points. And this gold lead is just getting masterfully extended. 8,000 now for G2. And the Baron is wide open. The map is so dark for Liquid right now.
Yeah. Everything is just really hard to play. I mean, it's almost 10K as we approach 22 minutes. And you can see Syndra going Void Staff second. So trying to get a little bit of penetration so that she'll deal more damage, but she has Merc Treads herself. And that's not a super good feeling to have right now inside of this game.
The item difference, I think, can be epitomized by having a look at Tactical versus Perkz.
Yeah.
A couple of daggers and a Blade of the Ruined King versus Hurricane, Essence Reaver, a cheeky little Null Magic Mantle, because why not?
And a
BF sword.
Best friend sword.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, that's a I want to leave the game soon sword in this particular one, as that is demonstrating exactly how far ahead they are.
Well, QSS on Tactical.
Okay.
All right, because I feel like if he's having to QSS, the game's already over at this point.
Well, I think there is a lot of CC coming out of G2, especially having a look at that Ashe arrow if he is hit by one. And it's going to be a rough time. And no cleanse on the Kalista was an interesting choice anyway, but now at least he does have the itemized version. And CoreJJ not going to be building Mikyx or anything like that anytime soon. Could theoretically be a third item for Impact, but he's struggling to get towards the second just yet. As G2 will have a Mountain Drake to pick up if they'd like to after this, but looks like this inner turret in the bottom lane is going to be their first port of call. As Broxah taking some poke from Wunder. I say poke, I mean that's a third of his health. As Leandri's has been completed. Boris not welcome over on G2's side by the looks.
Yeah, he's seething right now, for sure. He's a little bit upset. He got new inventory in, but we're not seeing it here today.
Well, the arrow is going to majestically sail
Brownie's comment
towards the west. See whether that comes through from the eastern side in a little while. Always wondered whether Runeterra is a sphere. Do you believe in flat Runeterra, or are you... oh,
Runeterra is a globe, yeah.
Okay, there we are.
Just so you...
Look, I was just wondering. It might be like Discworld or something like that. Read into that particular part of the lore. As Team Liquid in the Fnatic brush here for a moment, but it looks like a reset is where G2's minds are at. I'll just replenish their wards that they have in their inventory. You can see Mikyx coming out with a full stack of regular wards and a couple of controls, just to try and start establishing some Baron control here at 24 minutes into the game.
And I really like that G2 they're taking the game really slow. They know that with each minute that passes, everything just gets better for them. That's just what ends up happening. And they're moving very slow and steady. Mountain Soul will end the game. There's going to be no chance for Hecarim, Syndra, and Lulu to chew through anything. Kalista even is just going to be hitting a wall, essentially, with all of her auto attacks. And G2 know that that's the inevitability, that they can just keep gravitating towards So unless TL feel like they need a hot date, I imagine that we'll have a Baron dance, and if not, then maybe a fight at the next Dragon.
Yeah, it's going to need multiple miracles on TL's side. One will not do. As we have a look at that gold graph descending towards the 10,000 gold mark, which is just being crested now. As from about 12 minutes, G2 have just been able to choke TL out of the majority of their resources around the map. It has been a very, very good lesson on suffocation of an enemy team and capitalization of power spikes as well here from G2. Very different from the G2 TL series that we saw in the first round robin, to be perfectly honest. It was a little bit more fast and loose in that one. And G2 have come to play here at this stage of the tournament. Jensen down here towards the bottom side hasn't really been amongst it so far this game, still sitting on a few zeros. In Australia, that would get you onto the police, by the way. You got to call that number. As we've got a secret agent for G2 in the form of Jankos 008. Don't remember which one that was. Personally, as Tactical may have overextended, the Super Soaker is not going to quite find the mark.
Well, 10,000 gold lead right now for G2. 2 minutes and 20 seconds till that Mountain Dragon comes up. It looks like Syndra is going to try to get to death cap. Here's that Baron.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is going to be contested. They do have a vision of it. And Broxah can certainly canter pretty quickly. I think he's going to try and play Keeper.
Ooh.
Arrow's going to connect. That should buy them a fair bit of time, but Broxah, very quick, can get over the wall, of course, as Wunder with the blast cone. Impact in trouble. Chain Lash will land as Jankos diving on in, but he might have been a little bit overextended as he is going to be taken down very quickly. Wild Growth onto CoreJJ to keep him alive, but there is the hijack onslaught and shadows, and I feel like the wallets are too heavy on the side of G2. 2 kills already, make it a double for Perkz now as Tactical is doing the best he can, but it is not going to quite be enough. Triple kill for Perkz, that's the ace, and this should be the game for G2.
This is definitely going to be the game. I think the death timers are very high, and with these characters being the ones that are remaining, I think it's almost it's probably a surety that this game could definitely end. But G2 actually looking like they might just go for double inhibitor. They're not gonna try to end, or
sometimes you got to play it safe by the water. Yes, as they are going to let Team Liquid respawn. Will be the Baron's still available, of course. This was a peel away, so the old take a couple of inhibitors, go back to a Baron, and then finish the game could be their option.
So CoreJJ starts this off with a fantastic facebreaker into a haymaker. They get a kill onto Jankos pretty early, and then, like you were saying, Atlas, the wallets are just way too big. G2 so far ahead in gold and everything else, and Perkz gets the triple kill for himself. So at the end of it all, we're still inside of this game, but that was a glimpse of how the teamfight looks right now. It's only going to get worse, and if Jankos was able to live longer, more problems would end up arising. He looks like he's building towards Locket of the Iron Solari.
Yep.
So Boris definitely fuming.
Yeah, he's upset. As Cap's going to turn up, Tactical dancing around, but able to get a lot of damage there onto Caps. The arrow is going to miss. There's the Fate's Calls, Facebreaker onto just one, but you can see Perkz is just melting CoreJJ right now. It is going to be Tactical taken down at the beginning, and that is disastrous. Scatter the Weak for a couple of stuns, but the follow-up just isn't there unless you're talking about G2. Impact caught out of position. He'll go down, he'll sacrifice himself for the good of Broxah and Jensen, but I don't know whether it's going to quite be enough as those chains very, very close. Caps just says, nah, flashing on you, mate. And he is going to be able to take down the Syndra. Only Broxah alive as G2 are going to push through for the final time.
Well, it does look like G2 are going to clap back in the game here. And from start to finish, they were just in total control of the game.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of the laning phases inside of the jungle. Jankos was just... He was running a bit of a clinic on Broxah, and just the ability to influence more of the lanes as well as gain intel on Broxah and things of that nature. So G2, I think they show up the way that people expected them to the first time these two teams encountered.
Yeah, this is, I think, what a lot of people were expecting out of this particular matchup. G2 just so good on the international stage just in general, but they sometimes do have those for fun games. And that felt The last matchup between these two teams certainly felt a little bit more like that, whereas this was 100% business.
Yep.
This was a G2 that, despite the fact that there were certain positives about the TL draft, G2 were just able to dissect it, and they decided, okay, we need to make sure that we stop the Hecarim from getting any farm. Check. Jankos got on that one very, very early, but I think Wunder also outlaned Impact very, very effectively there towards the top side of the map, and also held on to his advantage so beautifully as that game went on. I think that was definitely, if I was going to be the one giving the player of the game, mine would 100% go over to Wunder. The Sylas performance was just so good.
Yep. Completely agree with you. I think that Caps also did a really good job. I mean, we're getting selective camera pans to mid lane, but the fact that Syndra wasn't doing anything, I don't know if that's more just Jensen, but given that there's not enough camera pans, I'm going to have to assume Caps was probably partaking in it to some degree.
Also wasn't letting the Syndra out of the lane at all.
Yeah.
So it sort of wasn't on Jensen. He couldn't actually impact that game very much at all. But we'll be back for March Esports versus Suning after our Spotify song break. When you're listening to Takeover from League of Legends official playlist, do not go anywhere.
I got the height of a lion. I know the harder you climb, the harder you fall. I'm at the top of the mountain, too many bodies to count. I've been through it all. I had to weather the storm to get to the level I'm on. That's how the legend was born. All of my enemies already dead. I'm born. I'm ready for war. They know I'm ready for war. I told them. We're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you calling my name. You ought to know by now. We're taking over. I got it all locked up.
Welcome back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Desk. We'll have an interview with G2 shortly. But first, let's talk about the game. They got their revenge versus Team Liquid and are now in sole possession of first place in Group A. So much of what we talked about coming into this game was about the early game shenanigans and the team compositions. And Yamato very eloquently put, up until this point, G2 has been a follower and not a leader. They are trying to play what they think will be in the meta. Well, we saw a different look from them in this game.
I like the approach of just grabbing the Volibear. Like, if you pick Volibear blind there, you almost instantly know that it's going into the jungle. I think if you look at the composition, I can see many moments where Kalista Lulu can just kite all of these, you know, boys that are melee here on the front. But it was all about the early game. G2 had the decent lane matchups, and Volibear could get active, and this is what Jankos is known for.
I think what was pretty clever was that the first pick Volibear came through, and we've been seeing it so much in the top lane, but then it was locked into the jungle. We've seen it from much. I believe we've also seen it from FlyQuest so far at Worlds.
Yes.
And I think that G2 clearly decided to go back to what made them successful domestically, playing through your lanes. This is a style that they have found a lot of success with, and it came to fruition beautifully. Like, they were able to get Wunder ahead even after he lost his flash early. They were able to invest heavy ganks towards the bot side of the map. And overall, we just saw a very hard investment into early game, which heavily paid off for G2.
Talk to me about TL's perspective then in this draft. I know there was talk about Impact's champion pool and what it could do, and he does come up with a new look here, right? The Lulu, which we saw in Nagri's hands earlier as well. What do we make of this draft? Because it looks like it has some ingredients that we wanted to see, like the Sett for CoreJJ, a real playmaker.
I think it's so tricky because we've been talking about what are Team Liquid's strengths, and I feel like G2 just saw that because they kept diving and pressuring into the bottom side. They kept having the prio, and never at any point did CoreJJ have a chance to really roam around the map. I think if G2 as a team lock down those lane phases, all of a sudden Broxah doesn't look that good. I think Broxah is successful when his team is winning, but he's never the one that is going to get the ball rolling when some things need to happen. Especially on the Hecarim pick, we saw the Graves ban come in, and now Team Liquid looks very different in comparison to the first match.
Varius, talk me through these bot lane shenanigans and these bot lane dives early on.
Well, so basically, as Yamato was saying, the whole game plan was to attack the bot side of the map. And what they did is they used the Ekko to gain priority in the mid lane 1v1 matchup, and then they brought caps down on the Ekko. And utilizing Ashe with the Tahm Kench ultimate, you can see how easy it is for them to actually attack this bot lane. G2 had set up the stacked wave, denying a lot of farm, and this was just a beautiful collapse from Wunder. He'd already taken the top lane tower with the Rift Herald, and he had the time and opportunity to work with the rest of G2 to attack the bot lane once more. And I think that coming into the mid game, Tactical was sitting at a 1-5 scoreline. So much investment was the whole purpose was to shut down Tactical and CoreJJ. And we talked about it at the beginning of the day, right? This duo is really the highlight package of TL right now. And if you can stop them from carrying, then you can shut down TL.
And to just add to that, I think these were all the question marks regarding TL kind of come in, you know, with the Graves ban coming in, no Orianna on Jensen, you know, Syndra is okay, but if you allow an Ekko to roam freely together with the Volibear, it means that you've missed the mark on how you need to play the game, because you need to strike first in that 2v2. And Ekko roaming in the Syndra matchup is like, what is going on? It's just a mid-gap.
All right, I have to. We don't have a lot of time, and I need to crown the Oppo player of the game.
Ooh.
It was Wunder, an absolute Chad in the top lane. Yeah, this was a bit suspect, though, from Broxah, but in the end, a great game from Wunder again, who we highlighted.
Well, it's fortunate because he's the player that I wanted to highlight anyway.
Okay, good.
Because,
That
Wunder,
works out.
I think had a fantastic performance, and I think that what this really sets us up for is showcasing how talented of a player he is. And if G2 has gone back to this approach of playing through their lanes, they seem to be way more focused. They seem to be very clean today. It's very scary for teams, especially like Suning, when I think that going into that matchup, you're looking at a lane that they can quite easily play through in the Wunder versus Ben topside.
So let's now look ahead for both of these teams. Wunder had a good day. He is smiling from ear to ear. We saw two very different games out of G2 and TL, but it still means it's a 1-1 between these two teams. So that might be good for TL later in the day. However, it is very difficult for them now. They have to start by winning the next two games. If they drop any of those games, they have no chance at all of qualifying for knockout. So that's what they have to do. Can we look forward for both those teams? For G2 and what you've seen now in their games versus Machi versus Suning, and for TL and their next two games?
I feel like what it's going to come down to is just what is Machi going to do to disrupt this group? If Team Liquid want to have any success now, they need to rely on the things around them, because if Suning end on a 4-2 score or a 5-1 score. The same thing for G2, a 4-2 score. Then all of a sudden there's no chance of coming back because Team Liquid can only land on a 3-3 scoreline. So they need to hope that Machi does some damage for them.
We'll see. And it's World, so crazier things have happened. For more on G2's impressive win, Lore is standing by with Jankos.
Oskar Gurum.
Thank you very much, Shox. Lore here, joined by Jankos. And Jankos, honestly, this game was night and day compared to what we've seen on Wednesday. You decided to ban a lot of junglers during the draft. What did you think it was the good solution here?
I knew that question was coming. So we thought that Broxah is most comfortable with Graves, and we also thought that Team Liquid drafts are good around Graves. So we decided to ban that out, and then the rest is history. Like the rest of the bans were like really random because we didn't really expect them to, go 4-5 with jungle. We thought they would pick Lee Sin 2-3 or 1-2-3 like at some point, but they didn't. And apparently coaching staff said that he played these champs in solo queue, so he just banned the champs that we did, and then we just kind of went with it.
That makes sense, but honestly, I'm just poking you here because you had an amazing early game, and to think about what you said the other day during our longer interview, I remember we talked about the Volibear pick, the fact that you didn't find your marks within the meta here, so you went for the Volibear. You've been very proactive in the early game, helping out your lanes. What is necessary to play like this as a jungler at Worlds?
Well, I don't think it's like a correct way of playing the game. We saw Machi do it too, and I believe that you can get some advantages early game, but against a lot of farm junglers, you will just get out-farmed. I think that the matchup against Hecarim makes sense because you can pressure him early game, like which I did, right? Just went to his jungle straight away, and then he couldn't really farm, and that way I didn't fall behind. But let's say you pick it against Nidalee Graves or Lulu, Lilia, you would probably just fall like really, really behind in farm, but we kind of knew that he doesn't play Nidalee, and then we kind of also knew that we are banning Graves, and then Lilia probably wouldn't play it, but we also decided to ban it. So the Volibear was a flex pick, and then we decided to put the jungle. I think it was a good idea. I also felt like I wanted to play it very, very safe against Team Liquid because I felt like if we play the old style, we will never lose to that team. And we did kind of play the old style where I could focus on helping lanes and they could focus on like playing their game, which is like how we look the strongest, right? When I can help them early. And then I think the most important part was we didn't actually lose level 1, which happens to us like every single game almost, like either lose with level 1 or level 2. So I'm very happy that we could like go past 3 minutes in game, and then I kind of knew the game is over when we went past 3 minutes without like dying or losing a camp.
I agree with you, and I'm very happy you mentioned level 1. This is something we will be looking out for G2 later today during Young Games. But for now, thank you very much, Jankos, for the interview, and good luck for the next games.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back in a few minutes for Suning versus Machi Esports. Stay tuned.
When Suning got unlocked on the map, you saw how quickly they were expanding the gold lead.
Will you still be able to say, yes, we will win through lane domination and outperformance? And Machi just looked back and said, well, yeah,